Welcome back to another video. In this video we're going to take a look at the last manual version of the Skoda Octavia RS. This exact model was kindly given to us by the dealership here in Autohaus Liebe in Brunswick. So if you want to check out this exact model or even buy it for yourself, you can get it at the Autohaus Liebe here in Brunswick for 39,000 euros. In this video we're going to mainly be talking about what this car offers, how it looks on the exterior, what features it has, the interior. We're going to take it for a spin, and later also on the Autobahn, where there's going to be a separate video right up there or in the link down in the description below. This video is mainly going to be focused for younger families who are looking for a more aggressive car. So if you're a more aggressive driver, while not having the family in there, you can just you can use the car on roads and be a little bit more aggressive, but also have the functionalities of a normal sports, a normal station wagon for your family usage, and how good it is for smaller babies or smaller families or younger families in general. So let's get into the video and hope you enjoy. Let's first of all take a look at the front of the vehicle. Obviously there's a couple of changes that Skoda made to make the Octavia look a little bit more aggressive. For instance, you have, instead of having a chrome exterior of the front grille, you now have a black surrounding of the grille, as well as showing off that you have the RS, the most powerful Octavia version that you can have. Which we'll look at in a second with the engine. You up here have obviously a grille, as well as having intakes down here, which are real apart from a couple on the side and also some fake ones on the side. The whole bottom is also a little bit more aggressive compared to normal ones. For instance, you have a black lip down here and just a different style that you don't have on the normal one. And there's another intake or vent that goes through up to the wheels, and you can actually fit your hand through there, so it's actually real. As well as having all of that, you also have your lights, which are standard matrix LED lights. So every vehicle with the RS is going to have that in there. What does the matrix stand for? It's basically your high beams are automatically going to blend out the oncoming traffic when you're using your high beams, so you can keep them on even if you're on a road and you have vehicles coming onto you. They're not going to be blended by your high beams. Sorry about the noise, that's a big truck. And then further down we also have fog lights, which are also LED. There are three different versions you can get for this model. This one is the 2-liter 4-cylinder engine producing 245 horsepower with 370 Newton meters of torque. The other options are that you can, for instance, get a diesel version, which is going to give you 200 horsepower, and a diesel version with 4x4 or all-wheel drive, which is going to give you 200 horsepower as well. There's no all-wheel drive with the normal petrol engine, which is kind of sad because you're going to be limited to those 200 horsepower. But this one is the most powerful engine, obviously the RS, with 245 horsepower. You're going to get from 0 to 100 in around 6.8 seconds, with perfect conditions around 6.5, 6.4, which is pretty decent for a family car as well. That is a pretty decent number, and it has a top speed of 250 kilometers an hour. But like I said earlier, we'll check that out with the Autobahn video, which we're going to be uploading up there or in the link down in the description. Let's take a look at the side, because that's basically everything to the hood or the engine. The side again features a couple of more aggressive aspects to it that Skoda made. For instance, you have the 18-inch wheels, which are in full black. Those are the only tires you can get in full black. For instance, you could also get an optional 19-inch wheels, but they would have a different design with a circular design. I'm not the biggest fan of that, but there's probably a lot of people that also like that. Another great aspect to it is that you have red brake calipers, which look fantastic in contrast with the white moon white color that we have on here, which is a metallic color you can get for, I think, 260 euros extra. But they just fit very nicely with the black, and I do like that. As well as having obviously your other black aspects, for instance your side mirrors, those are in black as well. And also your roof railing, which you can only get for the Combi version. As a full black railing. This is also another great option. You can get a roof box on here just to have more room if you're obviously going on longer trips with your family or with your kids, or just in general having that up on top. You can store a lot of stuff in there with up to 80 kilograms of weight on top. And then we also have keyless go in the front and also in the back, which is beautiful because, for instance, if you're carrying a baby, you can just go up in here, go up in there, and then you can just put your baby in there instead of having to drop it, or not drop it, that would be bad, but put it down and then it's going to run away. But that is basically it for the side, and as well you have some very black windows, which I do like. And let's take a look at the back and also the trunk. The back again has a couple of touches which I personally think look pretty good. For instance, you have the all black name on there for Skoda, as well as the Octavia, and also the RS logo up here, which does look pretty nice in my opinion. You have the black accent as well going up to the roof, and you have a little lip out spoiler at the back as well, with again a tinted out back window. Further down, you also have a rear view camera, which is great, obviously, for parking, because that's what it does. And then further down, you have another sportier exhaust system, or not exhaust system, but a sportier look for the bottom diffuser with the black out trim. And as well as you could optionally get two exhausts, which are black, as well as having a different exhaust system if you get the Challenger package, which also adds the 19-inch wheels in the front, or in everywhere. Let's listen to the sound, because it sounds... well, listen to yourself. Well, that doesn't sound the greatest, but you can obviously also get the whole different exhaust system if you get a sportier Challenger package, which adds a whole different exhaust system. But, oh jeez, that is, my knee. That is it for the back. Let's take a look at the trunk, which is a great trunk. So let's open that up. One take, huh? It goes up automatically, which is nice, but it doesn't go up automatically. It just has a very springy system in there, so it makes it easier. Up in here we have a ton of space, 640 liters if you don't have the seats flipped over, but 1,700 liters if you flip them over, which is massive. I absolutely love that. And you also have some more storage space below it, where you can't put a spare wheel in there, but you can have a lot of space in there for just some other stuff that you don't need to grab that often. You can flip over the front seats via just flicking this over, and then they're going to flip over, and that is basically it. It's a very massive trunk, and I think it's perfect for just family stuff. You can put a lot of luggage in there and just have, for instance, a stroller in there, which is perfect, or fits in there very good. Let's take a look at the back seats. The back seats are also pretty comfortable, with a very good seating option, or seating position, with very good support, as well as a headrest, obviously, which you can adjust to your likings. It doesn't have the ENIAC headrest where you can just lean on and basically sleep in, but if I'm not mistaken, there's an option where you can have that as well as some shades in there, which is another option that you can get. You can also pull down the middle console, as well as basically having almost the exact same thing as the ENIAC had. So you have your two cup holders, which are not the biggest, and they're not that well supported, so they can fall over to the back not easily, or pretty easily. As well as you can flip this over so you can have skis in here, or just some longer stuff, for instance a cane. In the middle console, you don't have adjustable climate zones. You have two climate zones, but you can't change the temperature in the back. You can only do that in the front, as well as having a little kind of like trash can in there, or just a very small storage space. Don't know what you're going to fit in there. Maybe something for your kids. It's not the best when it comes to this space, because the front seats are pretty bulky, so you're actually going to have to move them pretty far forward. Otherwise, it's not going to fit in here perfectly, so you're not going to have that much space when you sit in the front. So you might want to think about that, because your baby seats are not going to fit in here perfectly. So maybe have a seat that faces towards the front, or just put the baby in the front. That is another thing. You have basically the exact same side doors as in the ENIAC. So you also have your wave kind of design on the back, with the black piano and LED in the front and the back, and then two lights in the front, up on the top. And that is basically it. Let's take a look at the front seats. With the more aggressive Octavia, so the RS, comes some more aggressive seats as well, which are bucket seats, and they are very comfortable. I must say, they fit to your body very nicely when you're going around curves. You got side support, which supports you pretty nicely. They're not too tight. Well, obviously, if you're a little bit bigger than me, they might be a little bit tight, but for me, I think they are perfect. They also have the RS logo and a kind of air vent, or just a thing where you can put your hand through at your neck, which is pretty nice for people in the back, and you can go, and they can blow in your neck. Interesting. This is obviously the last manual option for the RS, which we're going to talk a little bit more in the video that we're going to, well, in the test drive we're going to do in a second. Up in the front, you have two USB-C charging options as well as an inductive loading space for your phone. You have your infotainment system. Well, I'm not going to talk too much about it because in the ENIAC we did a thorough review of the infotainment system, so you can check that out because it's almost the exact same system. But I do like the fact that we do still have the buttons down here, just like, or unlike Volkswagen have done in their other models, because Skoda is obviously part of Volkswagen. Further down we have kind of this folder where you have two cup holders in there, but I don't know what the check-ins or the check what kind of cups they have or bottles, because these are very tiny. You can maybe put a popsicle in there, but those things are tiny. You also have your parking brake in here and some more storage space right in the middle. Steering wheel is very nice as well. It's basically the same as in the ENIAC, and again, I did like that one because you don't have touch sensitive buttons, and it does feel pretty well in your hands as well. You have a total digital cockpit in the front, and also some very nice, I do like this, I've never seen this actually before in any kind of Skoda car, is your carbon. They have like a carbon panel in the front, which looks pretty nice, with LED right below it and also on the side. And then we also have this microfiber in there, which is very nice, with some very cool looking red stitching which goes all across your seats and also in the gear selector or gear shifter as well. I'm personally a big fan of the front, and I think it looks pretty decent. So let's take a look at the driving capability of this car and let's take it for a spin. Now, obviously, because it's a manual, it's going to be a little bit slower when you're going from 0 to 100 than, for instance, your normal automatic gearbox, which is obviously a little bit of a difference between both of them. But there are obviously the three different versions. You can get the diesel one, and you can also just get the normal version. So while we're over here, let's quickly talk about the interior. I think it is actually pretty comfortable because you have the carbon stuff. The digital cluster instrument is also very nice because you can just change a lot of stuff. You have your voice controls on there. You can change the different views when you're going between stuff, so you can change it to that. You can put your voice on there. You have an RPM limiter, or not limiter, but you can have that. And there's a couple of different modes that you can select. Go back and forth between them. That's like a sport mode, and then you can obviously switch stuff between here. There are a couple of assists on here, for instance lane assists and brake assists, so if there's any situation where there is like a crash in front of you or something and you're currently not looking up, it's just going to automatically brake for you. There you could get some more assistance, for instance park assist, stuff like that, in different packages. The interior, again, like I said, this feels very good, and the quality in general is pretty good. It's better than, for instance, the GTE that we had previously. It was decent at some aspects, but the interior just was lacking in general, just like Volkswagen have done in the past. Or recently, because they have been doing a lot of cost saving. But the steering wheel also very, very nice. I like the fact that this steering wheel exists, I must say. It's a pretty nice steering wheel. It's basically the same as the one we had in the ENIAC, as well as you have your RS on there. But that is it. Let's wait until we get a little bit more rolling, and I'll talk a little bit more about how the car feels. The steering feels pretty direct. I don't know, I'm not even in the sport mode. Once you're in the sport mode, it feels a little bit more direct even. But the steering wheel feels pretty good. It handles it goes in your hand pretty nicely. It does feel very good when it comes to that. I do like the digital cluster instrument. You still have analog stuff on the left, for instance, your oil temperature, and also your how much range you have on the other side, which I personally like.
The power and power delivery of the turbocharged 2-liter 4-cylinder gasoline engine with 245 horsepower are completely adequate, but I would like to see a little bit more. The maximum torque of 370 Nm is also from an early 1600 RPM, which is completely managed by the optional 7-speed dual clutch transmission, which provides another level of comfort but also removes the fun of driving a manual.
Let's quickly turn into a sport mode, because when you do that, let's just quickly go a little bit slower and you can listen to this. When you listen to that, it adds so much fake sound that in my opinion it's even a little bit too much. Even if you're going at 2000 RPMs and you hit the throttle, and it just, like, I must say, it sounds amazing. Like, it doesn't sound bad. It sounds like a good fake system, but it's not something I'd really want. I'd rather have an authentic sound, but this adds a little bit more, like, yeah, okay, it's a cool feature. Let's quickly slow down a little bit more, and you can see we're gonna go down to around 2500 RPMs, and let's just, It sounds amazing. I must say, it sounds pretty cool, but I think after a while you might get annoyed by it because it's just a little bit too much. That is my opinion on it. Obviously, you might have different opinions on it, but I personally think if you're using it too much, it's not the greatest. You can go into an individual and you can change that up by your motor sound. You can do that. But I think after a time when I'm basically driving, I'd rather have it off. In general, the steering is pretty nice. I do like the feeling of it. You can actually also get the Challenger package, which adds a DCC body control.
With the optional DCC suspension and its adaptive dampers, the Skoda skillfully swallows up most bumps. Sporty harshness only comes to light at the driver's request at the appropriate settings. The standard and progressive steering provides sufficient feedback and keeps the car safely on track.
So what is my final verdict on the Skoda Octavia RS? It is a pretty family-friendly car with obviously a lot of space and trunk, that's a fly, space in the trunk, and in general being pretty comfortable in there for 4 or 5 people. You can be in there pretty long, but the fact that you have baby seats that you can't fit in there properly is not the greatest thing. Not a big fan of that. That's a loud truck, sorry about that. But I like the aggressive lookingness of it. Obviously, last manual car, I do like that. It's a pretty fun driving experience. And for 39,000 euros, I must say it's a little bit expensive, but also I think it's in the range of still being a good price for the car that you're getting. With 245 horsepower, I think that's pretty decent. So I would actually recommend buying this car if you're looking for a sports wagon or a sporty kind of car with a family in mind. I think this is a great option for you. So if you want this car or any other car at Autohaus Liebe, they offer a great amount of service and great cars. So if you want to check them out, make sure to do that via the link in the description. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you for the next video. Bye-bye.